God's timing is perfect. Over and over again, we have heard this statement, and it all seems too easy to say until we actually have to wait for God's time. Then it starts to dawn on us that maybe, just maybe, this supposed perfect timing is not actually perfect in our human sense. Hello Trailblazers, you are welcome to another video. In today's video, we're saying, be careful rushing God's timing. You never know what He's protecting you from. Without dispute, one of the hardest things for many Christians to do is to wait for God's perfect time, especially with regards to issues in our lives. Do questions begin to brew in our hearts, such as, when is the perfect time? When will God come through? How do I know the perfect time of God and the likes? We live in a fast-paced world where everyone seems to be in a hurry, and it's popularly said that time is on no one's side, hence the need to maximize what has been given to all, which is 24 hours. So by the time allocated to each human, everyone tends to make plans, which as humans is natural. We plan how we would like our lives to pan out, milestones to achieve at the set time and feats to attain. Then we allocate time to these different plans and try to run with it. However, man proposes, God disposes. It is only normal that you put plans in motion. At a certain age, I would like to be done with school, then at a certain time, get a job, at another point in time, get married, have children, establish a business, and so on. It might not be in that order, but you get the point. Basically, making plans and setting goals is part of life, and timing, which is a crucial part of planning, needs to be allocated. It would be hilarious if one plans and does not allocate time for execution. However, as Proverbs chapter 19 verses 21 puts it, there are many devices in a man's heart, nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord shall stand. Other translations make mentions of plans. The New Living Translation says, you can make many plans, but the Lord's purpose will succeed. Now this is not to say that the Lord will impose His own plans upon a person, but it's just best to submit to His will and let them override yours. When is God's perfect time? Diving into this, God's perfect time can be described as a set time He has fashioned for various aspects of your life. These are the seasons God knows will be best to appear in areas where you have prior called upon Him to. As believers, after saying I do to Jesus, it is expected that you submit your will and align yourselves to the will of the Father. Your time now becomes His, and you say that He should do with you as He would like. Digressing a little bit here, it is extremely easy to say these words. Words such as, take my life and let it be, consecrated Lord, to Thee. Or my time are in your hands. But the hard work sets in when you have to actualize them. What then happens when God takes cognizance of these statements and wants to work with them? How easy is it to give God your time, your will, your desires? These are things that no one has set in motion beforehand. But then we tell ourselves it seems as though a supreme being who I've said I do to now wants to overhaul all these and then bring me under what He believes is best for me. As a Christian, you know that Jesus has our best interests at heart, as Jeremiah chapter 29 verses 11 puts it. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. It is therefore safe to say, wherever He leads me, I will go, for I know the end of the journey is one that I'll be pleased with. Times and seasons. And the children of Issachar, which were men that had an understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. 1 Chronicles chapter 12 verses 32, it shows that it is absolutely possible to discern the times and seasons of one's life, as well as know what ought to be done at each point in time. This understanding is given by God who appoints the time, and what the men have to do is relay the same mind of God and execute what ought to be done. The same way humans make plans for themselves is the same way the Lord makes plans for humans, and it is obvious that the plans of God are the best. Of course, this is someone that already knows the end from the beginning. Hence, He knows what is best for you. However, it is not always easy adapting the plans of God for your life, because it might not be in tandem with what He had in mind for you. And as a human, you might feel like you know what is best for you. Then other times, when you eventually adopt God's plans, you might not like the timing He has set for these plans. At this point, it is important to reiterate that our God is a God of orderliness. And Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verses 1 is a testament to that, which says, to everything there is a season and time, to every purpose under heaven. The omnitemporal one fashions time for everything that has been ordained, as everything would be total chaos if He did not. Sometimes you might not even know the specific plans God has for you, nor the timing for the manifestation of these plans. but you roll with what comes because you know that there is an expected end. Now, this can be rectified by asking God what He has in store for us. If this is revealed, the journey becomes a tad bit easier. Knowing God's will and timing for you would help you in this journey of life. Now, this is because you would not be easily swayed with whatever seems to be the latest trend of the world, because you've been made aware of God's plan. Hence, you run with that as rightly put in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 2. Write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it. So you wait on God. At this juncture, with regards to waiting, that can be another issue entirely, as it is without a doubt that waiting can be tiring. You are not even sure of what is going on or what season of your life you seem to be in. And it's just as if God is not saying anything and you do not know what step to take next. And this particular aspect of life is tiring. It reduces worry, anxiety, fear of what the future holds. But thanks to God who knows all and has said, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let our requests be made known to God," as seen in Philippians chapter 4 verse 6. So you might not know when God will show up, nor the manner in which He will, but you trust Him and walk with that light, for as seen in Isaiah chapter 40 verses 31. But those that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength, and in due time and appointed season you will see Him. And please don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. Consequences of rushing God's timing. Establishing that waiting for God's perfect time is the best thing to do. Another issue is going ahead of God or trying to help God. Utter disaster is what the end result of the action will be. It is quite funny that we mere mortals want to assist the Almighty. It is amazing how one can even fathom such a thought. You see in the Bible what happened to the fellow that wanted to help God by preventing the ark of God from falling to the ground in Samuel chapter 6 verse 7. Instruction had been specifically given, and going against it was tantamount to obedience, and with disobedience comes consequences. The same goes for going ahead of God or trying to take matters into your own hands because you believe that Jesus is not working fast enough for you. Again, God's timing is not your time, so it is necessary to even ask for patience after adopting the will of God. There are times it will seem as if God is not doing anything. Meanwhile, the time is not right. He has said in Isaiah chapter 60 verses 22, "At the right time, I will make it happen." Trying to move ahead of God with what He wants to do in a particular area of your life will end up in a chaotic state. And then you end up making a mess of the plans of God, which can take you back to square one and retard growth in your life. This is why it is important you learn how to adjust the timing of God in a supposed slower time frame compared to the time frame of man. Imagine if Jesus while on earth had rushed the time for His manifestation. Would the results have been the same? And even when He asked to perform a miracle, He explicitly stated in John chapter 2 verses 4 that His time had not come. Also, in John chapter 7 verse 6, He repeated it that my time is not yet come. Jesus, the perfect example, understood the importance of waiting for God's appointed time. You can liken God's timing to a pregnant woman who goes to the hospital at 5 months and demands that the baby be brought forth by any means possible. It is the right knowledge that the allocated and set time for the pregnant woman to bring forth is 9 months. So a pregnant woman going to the hospital at the 5th month for delivery is absurd, and the doctors will do all they can to change the mind of such woman. However, if she insists and is eventually induced and the baby is brought forth, we all know that a lot of things can and will go wrong, as the fetus is not allowed to develop properly and the organs are not fully formed. And if by any chance the baby survives, it's going to be a struggle to live, all because the mother did not wait for the appointed time of delivery. The above applies to running ahead of God or operating outside the set time. Now, easy to say that futile results and the "had I known" phrase would have become the order of the day. And this is something that can be prevented by just waiting and preparing for the ordained time of God. In this case, prevention is better than cure. Better to wait it out and enjoy the benefits than having to start all over again from the scratch. Benefits of waiting on the perfect time of God. In the process of waiting on God, you learn to trust, be patient, complete dependency on the one you're waiting on. With God, every journey He takes you on is accompanied by lessons to be learned. So while waiting, these things are learned. There are times that God Himself will extend a set time, not for any other reason, but to see how much you trust Him and how much you're willing to stay with Him. This can be adduced by the word of God in Habakkuk chapter 2 verses 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Now, the lyrics of Lauren Daigle's Trust in You comes to mind, and it says, when you don't move the mountains I'm needing you to move, when you don't part the waters I wish I could walk through, when you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Generally, Jesus, I may not know when you will show up, but I resign to trusting you. And that should be the posture of our heart, though it's not an easy thing to do, but with God, all things are possible. In addition, while waiting for God's perfect time, you should strive to seek for God's purpose in the delay. As Psalms 33 verses 20 says, our soul waits for the Lord. He is our help and shield. Now please don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our YouTube page for more videos like this. The place of waiting might also be a place of protection. God, knowing all, oftentimes tends to extend the time as humans. Now might be put to protect you. Now this might be referred to as a divine delay to shield you from the attacks of the enemy and ward off evil. Many times you do not know this, so you start asking God why He has not shown up and the promises He has made are not being fulfilled in the time that He has set for fulfillment. At times like this, it seems as though God is just looking at us smiling and thinking to Himself, if only you knew why I'm taking time, you would appreciate me more. If Jesus reveals why there was a delay, you would find yourself thanking Him, because if He had appeared in the time that you expected Him to, things might have taken a turn for bad, and that the same you will bombard Him with questions as to why He did not protect you from such events. It is therefore safe to say that with God's timing comes protection. He would not answer your request to your detriment. Instead of complaining and asking questions that do not advance the cause, it is important that you just thank Him for knowing that He will not give you less than you ought to have. Trust in God's perfect time. Another issue that might be brewing in our hearts is, why should I trust God's timing? And what makes His time so perfect? It is important to trust God's timing because the Eternal One who exists outside space and time will know when it deems fit to descend into your life and make an absolute beauty of it. All you have to do is trust in His timing. You also should trust God because He has our best interests at heart. He will have us prosper in all endeavors in line with His will. You trust because delay does not negate such plans. Just like the case of Daniel, when he was making supplications to God, his prayers had actually been answered since the first day, much earlier than Daniel would have expected, which is seen in Daniel chapter 10 verses 12 to 14. However, there had been a delay with regards to the answer, until the angel Michael assisted the angel that was sent to Daniel. The act of the prince of Persia did not stop that which God wanted to do for Daniel. Now this scene also shows that not all delays from God. Circumstances where the devil hinders the manifestation of God's plan for you and the time is extended unnecessarily will have you contending with the powers of darkness to see that God's will be done in your life. When you persist in the place of prayer, just as Daniel did, and work with the confidence in Jesus, then God and His angels will fight for us. His timing is perfect because He is omniscient. He knows all. There is not a thing that you have thought that God does not already know. Hence why you trust that the time He has allocated for a particular area of your life to manifest is truly the best time. If you stay in God's leadings on which steps and actions to take, not only will there be no